Hi, this is Dr. Stephen Newhart with Science-Based Body, and this is the Economic Fitness Podcast channel. On this channel, we are going to provide you with ways to keep your body and mind in top peak physical condition in an environment of sedentary work environments. It is our perspective that blood flow is equal to cash flow. And if you cut off the blood flow, you cut off the cash flow. We hope you enjoy our information. Hi, thank you for tuning into the Economic Fitness Podcast. My name is Dr. Stephen Newhart. I have a great guest today. He is an MD out of Brownwood, Texas, and he is board certified in emergency medicine, and he is board certified as an OBGYN. And I'd just like to welcome Dr. Mike Schultz. Dr. Schultz, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you.
It's truly
glad to be here.
Truly a pleasure. We've got to know each other over the past few months, and just a great person, incredibly intelligent. Every single time I'm with you, I learn something new, which I love that about you. So thank you for that. But if you wouldn't mind just telling everybody kind of how you got started as, or what piqued your interest in medicine, and then kind of go from there.
Okay. Well, my father was a doctor.
Okay.
And actually the only doctor in our family. It's not like a family group of lineage downline. Mm-hmm. But he was a doctor, and so obviously back in the a long time ago, I would go to with him to the hospital to get crackers mostly out of the cafeteria,
sure, and
sit around and wait for him to see patients. But I developed an interest in medicine that way. I guess there was one time I met one of our neighbors next door was a carpenter, and I kind of, for about 3 days, worked with him and wanted to be a carpenter, and then that went away. I was going to stay in medicine. So by the time I was 5, I'd already decided I was going to be a doctor.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And when I was 11, about 11, I started working in his office, my father's office, doing lab. And so we were really, it was a crude lab back in those days. Some tests that obviously don't do differently, but most people don't know that we used to inject mercury into people, liquid mercury, to cure infectious disease back in the 30s.
How did it work? Did it work well?
And
did it work well?
It is unknown. I haven't seen any data on it. But one of the things that X-rays that were done in the 60s and 70s when I was in medical school, you would X-ray a hip and you'd see these white spots which were still mercury, because those people still had mercury for the rest of their life. Geez. This liquid mercury. And of course, just as a segue, the crude test you did, because that mercury came out through the urine, and you would take a hot copper wire and dip it in the urine and pull it out, and liquid mercury would be on the copper if your patient had mercury poisoning or mercury toxicity.
So I guess you'd say we've come a long way.
Mass spec and all sorts of other machines that wouldn't measure mercury.
So kind of a family trait, I guess.
But that was the textbook stuff. That's how you did it in the textbook.
But I mean, your heritage.
So then I decided I was going to be a pathologist, and when I was 13, I bought my first microscope, big microscope, binocular microscope, and I worked in the hospital lab, starting at the age of 13, and my father and the lab director had a fight over how much to pay me, since I was, minimum wage was $1, and my father said, well, you need to start at 50 cents an hour. So 40 hours a week was $20, which is a lot of money back in the 60s, 50s and 60s. And I loved lab, and so we started off lab, and I worked my way through through college and medical school as a lab technician in Dallas at the medical school.
Okay.
So.
And you were at UT Southwestern.
Southwestern, in Dallas at Parkland.
Yeah.
And working in the Parkland labs, and that's where I met my wife. Actually, she was also a lab technician there, working on her PhD. So we, finally, when I got to through with medical school and deciding on a residency, I had already started, and even in college, I did research in chemistry labs and was a chemistry major. And I'd started in my freshman year working in the labs on lipid metabolism and arachidonic acid, which converts to prostaglandins, which starts labor. And so I got into the OB-GYN field, and I decided, I got accepted in pathology. I went to OB-GYN and doing research on initiation of labor and also delivering a lot of babies at Parkland.
Sure.
So we just, my daughter wanted to be a doctor, and her grades were good, but her MCAT was not too good. My son wanted to be a doctor, not really seriously, but his MCAT was very good, but his grades were mediocre. So neither one of them. My daughter did get her PhD in chemistry, like my wife has, and all four of us have degrees in chemistry, I have more in PhD working on PhD for biochemistry. So that's basically how I went on. Back in those days, my father would go to people's houses and do visits and treat patients in their house, and so that was fun to go and just to visit those people.
Well, it's great you had that background. And something interesting that I heard about you're a pilot, so
Right.
you can fly your own planes, and so you used to, and now maybe you could tell us the year that you did this, but you used to travel to different emergency rooms and do shifts there.
Yeah, I've done about 200 hospitals in Texas.
Wow.
And
that was in the middle of
half plane will travel, and so with my group that I was with, they knew I had a plane. I could be anywhere in Texas in 2 hours with the airplane. And it just started back. Emergency medicine started back when I was in residency, because that's the way residents weren't paid very much, $500 a month for 60 hours a week. And so you supplemented your income with emergency medicine, which was not a specialty at that time, but that was moving towards a specialty. So I would go to Fort Worth here. The hospitals doesn't exist anymore. And then Durant, Oklahoma, and various places, just driving and doing emergency medicine. And also I kept it because if you're an OB-GYN, technically by the college is you can't do anything but OB-GYN. And so my partner, who is an OB-GYN also, if he had a patient with a cold or a flu, he would be a true OB-GYN. He would send them out to another doctor. And my father and some of the doctors in Brownwood said, you're licensed by the state, just do primary care for women. And so I treat everything that women have except for heart attacks and strokes.
That's great.
So
what makes what's the need for you to fly to an ER?
Right.
Is somebody not able to make a shift or something like that? What's the
in 1969 or 79 when I went to Brownwood, the Cessna had a little program, and another doctor who flew said, "Oh, come on down, and then we'll show you how to, show you flying." And not really having a desire, but I did live at the airport, and so we started getting in the plane. And if you take the Cessna test, which you can still do now, the instructor, goes around the plane, says, "Here's what it is," and then the next thing he says, "Okay, let's go fly around Brownwood or Dallas or wherever it is." And so I started getting on the passenger side. "No, you're going to fly the plane," and this is how you do it. And you don't realize how much he's really doing with his feet to control the plane, but you look down the checklist, go and learn, and so and I enjoyed flying, and I had some meetings in Fort Worth. So where it took me almost 3 hours to get here today, I could be here in Fort Worth in 40 minutes.
Sure.
So
where did you fly into when you would come to Fort Worth?
The various, wherever the meeting was.
There's a Meacham Airport right down the street.
I was at Meacham.
Oh,
We flew at Meacham. We flew into some of the airports around the south side of And so that, and even DFW, but if the meeting was there. So,
That's
so we started
amazing.
that way, and then I got my license in about 1 month. It just as a number of hours, and so every day at lunchtime, I'd stop seeing patients and run out to the airport and fly over to some town near there and get my license. But eventually, what happened, so we quickly bought a plane so we could travel around the United States, and then when I started emergency medicine, when there was a recession under another president many years ago, and the number of deliveries went way down in rural Texas.
Okay.
And the lawsuits were, affecting some of that. So all the small hospitals around Brownwood that had been delivering babies for years, they had to come up to the standards of Parkland. And so it became uneconomical for them to do this. So when they quit, the Brownwood numbers went from 700 patients a year down to 400, which affected our practice.
Sure.
And so we started back up in emergency medicine. And initially at some of the other cities around Brownwood that I drive to. But then once I had the plane and I was starting to fly further away, 200 miles away, and what I liked was to go work at night, fly into the town, do the emergency medicine for 12 hours and get back on the plane and be back in Brownwood to see patients the next day.
You're a worker.
Well, people would say workaholic, but I just
no, that's why I didn't say worker. I don't believe in that either. I put in the hours.
I love to do that.
So you're a fit doctor as well. So and you love to golf,
right?
So that's a big thing. We also train together sometimes with a whole body vibration.
Right.
So tell me about golfing. What do you love the most about it?
I played golf starting back when I was 13 because my mother didn't want me to play football in Corpus Christi. It might damage my hands, and I was going to be a surgeon.
Sure.
And so I started in golf. And then actually played from 13, not quite as young as Tiger Woods, but started playing at 13 and playing golf every day. We lived right by the golf course and public golf course, and you could walk over there, and friends of mine would start at 5 in the morning, go to 9 o'clock at night, play 3 rounds of golf in a day.
Really?
Yeah.
3 rounds of 18 holes.
Carrying your bag. There were no carts at the time.
Sure.
So you had to carry a bag. And so
that's exercise. That's golf in the extreme exercise.
For $1, you could buy a hamburger, and at the golf course, you could buy a hamburger and a Coke for $1.
Sure.
And that's what we would hit when we were rich. So I'd take $1, and that's what we'd eat somewhere in the middle of the day, and keep on playing. It did get sidetracked a little bit. When I got to Brownwood, I played golf. But then for golf takes some time. So I had time for racquetball. So for about 15 years, I played racquetball.
I love racquetball.
And I love racquetball. I was very good at racquetball.
My dad actually still plays.
Yeah, I would too.
He's 70 now. He's playing.
So anyway, but the golf, I've been playing actually now that the equipment's increased and improved. I hit the ball a lot further now than I did when I was in high school at 18. The golf balls go further, and the clubs are better designed, we'll say.
How often do you get to play now?
I'm playing about 3 times a week.
That's great.
Yeah.
That'll keep you fit right there.
Yeah, we played 36 holes the other day. So it's not unusual to play 36 holes, but always 27.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you walk about 10 miles.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of it's walking.
And so we train together, you and I, on a whole body vibration platform, and all of our listeners and viewers, they kind of get an idea of it. Do you feel like it's helped your golf game at all in any sense? Any differences?
Golf is I'd say the scoring probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
The scoring, yeah, of course.
Because golf is a mental game.
Right.
And all my friends and even the pros. They have, why don't they hit 70, make a 72 every day?
That's right.
If you put your par in if you're a PGA pro and you average par 72, all year long, you will be the number one golfer in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but why don't they?
Yeah.
You know, because there's a mental part of the game, and you know, even though you're playing the same courses, one day they'll shoot a 64, and the next day they shoot a 74 or 78.
Sure.
And so, but the vibration, the machine has helped. I agree that I enjoy it. It does help my balance, and because we do some balance exercises
Of
on
course.
it,
Yeah.
and we do some light weights on it. And so physically, you know, muscle wise, it's done very well.
That quick twitch that you get from it,
Yeah.
I believe that's going to help.
Well, we
especially
do
on a
twisting
drive.
on the machine
Yeah,
while it's
yeah.
going. And so I've been, you know, and we've been doing it for about 8 months now. I bet Bill and I have done it for at least 8 months.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Very consistent.
I like the machine. I'm got one in my office, and I have several patients who use it.
We have one in our living room with my children who are 2 and 4. They just
Mhm.
willingly go over there and they enjoy it. And
Yeah.
I don't have to turn it on for
No,
them.
I use the one at our house, but my cats do too.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the cats love to
the
get on
dogs.
Yeah, cats
They
like to
love
get
it.
on it. And I think my wife's going to start getting on it. She's been so busy teaching that she has not had time, or as an excuse, she's I'm teaching, I'm doing this Zoom meetings. And so,
I always like to tell people, you don't have to do the type of exercising that we do. It's
Right.
beneficial.
That's right.
If you're going to do nothing that day,
Right.
this is going to be better than nothing.
That's right.
And even just standing there. So you don't have to really just
Yeah,
get in.
and I have a tendency to say well, here's what my partners and I do. You know, we lift some weights, and we do some squats, and you know, toe touches and all sorts of things. But you know, for these 75 and 80-year-old people that I have, they'll just come and hold on to the rail and get on the machine.
That's exactly
3
right.
times a week.
That's exactly right.
And so I'm
And they're getting fit.
after about 3 or 4 months, I keep saying, well, you know, why don't you try just bending over a little bit, you know, and see if I can encourage them to do more.
Well, after the muscles experience the twitch for a while,
Yeah.
you're actually going to be able to.
That's
That's what I try to tell people as well. You're firing muscles by just standing there.
Right.
So then these other movements will start feeling easier
Right.
for you.
And
And I
so-
love that.
And so I like the machine, partly, you know, I don't, with my poor knees that I have now, I don't necessarily like I better not say brands, but a bicycle machine, we'll say.
Mhm.
You know, and I don't like coming to a gym, and my wife doesn't go to the gym either, because I get a little ego involved, and you have these people lifting 200 pounds, and I'm barely able to do 100. You know, so it's there's an ego of watching these
I understand.
fit young people.
I understand.
But the vibrating the platform is just phenomenal.
That's what prompted another reason why what prompted this is
Right.
because I know that there's that fact. The
Yeah.
gym attracts younger individuals, and then there is maybe it's not an ego factor, but it's just kind of an intimidation that may happen
Well,
by process. You know, it just happens, and so
I get involved in men don't ask for directions,
sure.
and they don't ask for instructions. And so even though there's somebody at the gym here who would give me instructions, and I want to build the muscle, this muscle, that muscle, have a little, well, you know, he's not really interested in me.
Mhm.
It's not true, but I'm just afraid to ask
Of course.
for instructions and say, how many sets of this do I need to do?
Yeah.
And whereas the platform machine and working out with some people from Fort Worth, you know, they show me what to do, and we add the weights as we can.
Mhm.
You know, so it's just a phenomenal. Friend of mine, another doctor in Brownwood, who has a machine and has had a machine for years, but he said he had an 85-year-old man come in the other day in really good shape, and he said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, 35 years ago, I bought this machine that goes up and down, and I've been using it for 35 years." And the guy's 85, and he's spry and fit.
I'm telling you.
And so
If
it's
we
really
just
helped.
maintain with these,
Yes.
I think we will not lose anything. I'm a believer, Dr. Schultz, that you can turn the decline around. Some people will say, no, that's not possible, but I believe that you can. You just have to have the right tool the right stimulus where you can turn everything around. But, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Schultz. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your telling your story, talking about your journey, and
we enjoyed it.
Of course. We'll thank you for tuning in to the Economic Fitness Podcast, and we'll see you again next time.